Hi, and welcome to FreshMind.com. My name is Eric, and we are going to continue working on our DVD drawer. In this video, we are going to work on UV mapping. I was going to start adding some controls to open all this stuff up, but we'll do that after we do our texturing. And actually, before you do any kind of rigging and animating and all that kind of stuff, as far as the workflow goes, you should do the texturing first, I believe. Unless you're just blocking out animation and stuff like that. But I think typically we usually like to map everything out first. All right. This is going to be simple. I'm not going to try to overcomplicate or get too detailed or fancy with the UVs. I'm going to try to keep everything as simple as possible, except for maybe this piece here. We'll keep it simple, but it'll probably take a little bit of time. We'll just see. I'm going to start off by creating a texture that we can use to that way it will allow us to see if we're using, if any of our textures are going to be stretched or anything like that. So let's go ahead and do that by going to Windows, Rendering Editors, go to Hypershade. Now, you can go to Google and you can do a Google search for UV texture grid, and you should see all kinds of checkerboard patterns that you can use. All right, I'm going to just click on Lambert over here in the left-hand column. I'm going to rename it by right-clicking, selecting Rename, shader underscore checkers. I'm also going to go down here and click on File, since I'm going to be using a file. Alright, I'm going to double click on this file, open up the attributes for it. Image name is blank, the field, so I'm going to click on this button to the far right. It navigates. I put a checkerboard pattern inside my source images subfolder. So I'm just going to select that pattern, click open. Now I'm going to attach this file to the shader by just middle mouse dragging the file over to the shader and selecting color from the menu. So all I did was using this checkerboard file as the color for our shader. Alright, I'm going to apply that to all our objects, and the way I'm going to do it, I'm just going to select all the objects, and now I'm going to right click on the shader and select Assign Material to Selection. I'm going to close this Hypershade out. Alright, we can't see our textures. I'm inside the view panel. I'm going to press number 6, and now we can see our texture. And you can see there's lots of stretching going on there, and it's like these are upside down, so if we were to actually write something on it, it would be upside down. Again, more stretching, so definitely not what we want. This right here looks fine, but let's go ahead and just start texturing everything. If you look right here, we don't even have any texture on these side pieces here. Alright, this is going to take a little while, so let's go ahead and get into this. Otherwise, it's going to be really long. Probably end up being really long anyways, but we'll see. Alright, let's start. We're just going to do stuff simple. Okay, now this right here has got stuff attached to it, which is going to make it difficult. So I'm going to open up the outliner, and just here's our door. So if I select this door in the outliner, you can see it selects these hinges and this swivel down here. So I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to select each one of these right here and just middle mouse drag it onto the drawer group. That way, instead of being in with the door, it's with the drawer still. Alright, so let's select this piece here. This is facing the Z axis, so I'm going to go to Create UVs, Planar Mapping, Options box, Edit, Reset Settings. I'm going to choose the Project from Z axis and project. There we go. That's done. Let's do these pieces here on the side. I'm going to select or deselect the drawer. I've got just the hinges selected. Actually, we can select these down here as well. So I've got 4 objects selected. You can see right there. Alright, with those selected, we'll go up to Create UVs, Planar Mapping, Options box. These are facing the X direction, so I'm going to project from X axis. There we go. So if we put our textures back, that's done. Now these are solid textures, so I'm not worried about this edge here. So the only thing I'm really worried about is this front and the back. Again, because this is just going to be a solid texture, we'll have a logo down here at the bottom. But other than that, it's just really easy stuff. If there was going to be a texture on there, like some dirt, I might want to go in and map the sides of this and make it better. Alright, the next object, let's do these pins here. Okay, looks like the pins are probably fine like they are. I'm going to select both of them. Let's just see what it looks like in the texture editor. So I'm going to go to Edit UVs, UV Texture Editor. Okay, it's kind of hard to see what's going on, so up here in the top, I'm going to click on this display alpha channel. Alright, those look fine, just like they are. Go ahead and close that back out. I'm also going to get a little more room here and just close out the outliner. Let's do this piece here. I'm going to do a automatic mapping, so let's go to create UV mapping, automatic mapping. That's going to project from all every direction. Alright, but it's going to be in pieces, so let's open up the UV texture editor. And you can see it's all in the pieces. And I want to put all that together, so if we were to maybe write something, it would go on there the way it's supposed to. Alright, this makes sense to you here in a second. I'm going to right click, select UV. I'm just going to click on a point. You can see a little green dot. That's a UV. Control, right click to shell. That's going to select all the UVs that are connected to that UV that I clicked on. I'm going to use the move tool and just move that down out of the way. Alright, this right here is the, if you look over here on the left, you'll see it. This is the middle, the top right there. And I'm going to just, what we're going to do is we're going to sew all this stuff together. So I'm going to right click, select an edge. I'm going to select this edge here. And if we look up here, we're not seeing any edges. Okay, let's zoom in. There's probably two of them together. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to select this outside edge. If I zoom out, we should see, there you go. That edge right there and the edge I selected down here, they're the same edge. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to move these UVs and I'm going to sew those down to there, and then I'll sew another piece and we'll keep going. So hopefully this will make sense to you as you see me doing this. Alright, so I got the edge selected, polygons, move and sew UV edges. And so it took that piece and moved it down and sewed it on there. Alright, let's do it again. Select this edge. If I zoom out, you can see there's one there. So if I do polygons, move and sew, it just took that piece and moved it and sewed it on down there. Alright, let's just keep doing that. I'm going to go all the way until I get to the bottom. So I'm just going to press the G button on my keyboard to repeat the last command, which was the move and sew the UVs. So there we go. I'm going to do it again. And I'm just going to keep on doing that until I get to, okay, that right there might be the bottom. Actually, no, it's not big enough. So let's keep going. Just moving and sewing. Alright, right there is the bottom, I believe. So let's switch to the other side. Select an edge, move and sew, move and sew. Make sure I'm going to keep going until when I select an edge, it's going to be this side too. And then we'll know we're all, okay, right there. So this side is selected and this side is selected, so it's the same edge. So I know that I've got everything all the way around our tray all connected now. And if you look at our texture, everything flows like it's supposed to. Except right there. Oh, we don't have this inside part. It's only from this top and then all the way around the bottom. So if you look, everything just flows exactly the way it's supposed to. And then right there is this outside edge. You can see it's highlighted. We've got that edge selected. That's what that is. So, hope that made sense to you. Alright, now let's do this center part down here, this recessed area. I'm just going to zoom in here, select an edge, move and sew, and okay, put it down here. See, sometimes it moves the piece that you actually selected. Alright, I'm going to zoom in here and do this other side. Move and sew. Let's do the top and bottom. Alright, so there's our middle. Right click UV. I'm going to select the UV. Control right click to shell. It selects all the UVs that are connected together. And I'm just going to move that down here to that opening where it's supposed to go. Alright, there we go. These pieces here are the ends. I'm not really worried about that too much. They're not really going to be seen, so I'm just going to take those and leave it like it is. And just put it inside this one down here at the bottom. So there's our UVs. That's done for it. Alright, let's go ahead and kind of lay this stuff. Actually, we'll do it afterwards. That way I can kind of show you. Next item is, let's do this piece here. Object mode, create UVs, planar mapping. This is pointing in the Z axis, so I'm going to select project from Z axis and project. Alright, let's do these down here. Okay, actually they all look fine. If you look on here, it's okay just like it is. So I'm not going to worry about the feet. Alright, let's work on this piece here. I'm going to go ahead and isolate this body. Show, isolate selected, view selected. Alright, this right here is going to take the most time. I'm going to delete the history on it. I'm not going to try to do anything too fancy with this. Let's just keep it simple. We'll use some planar mapping on everything. So let's go to this side. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the texture mapping just so it doesn't bog my computer down too much, because my computer is not going to like this. Alright, so press F5 to get rid of that checkerboard pattern. I am just going to select all the faces on this side. I'm going to use the paint select tool. I'm just going to just start painting here. It's probably be boring to watch, but I'm not going to skip any steps so that way y'all can see exactly everything that I do. Just make sure I get everything in here selected inside the cracks. I think I'll do this front. Whoops. Okay, if you select something you didn't want to, just press and hold down the control button and then paint, and it will get rid of stuff. Alright, get these edges under here. Okay, once you get everything selected, we can actually do this side too. We can actually do both sides. That way we can just do one projection, and since both these sides are facing the same direction, we wouldn't want to do the top because it's facing a different direction. But both these are facing the X direction. Just getting inside the crack in there. Alright, so now we got, let's get these back. Alright, I think that's works good enough. Because we'll do these from a back projection, these from a top projection, and these from a front projection. Well, not front and back, those are both facing the Z direction. Alright, create UVs, planar mapping, options box. These faces are in the X direction, so we're going to project from X axis and project. Okay, now if you look down here, I've got this orange line right there. That's telling me that there's a face I didn't have selected. So let me look on this side too. So I got a few places right there, and right there, and right there. So I'm going to undo, Control Z, go in here, get my paint select tool back. Alright, so there's the face that I missed. And I had a couple places over here on this side. Alright, there's one. And there's another one I had. There we go. Alright, now let's redo that projection. Create UVs, planar mapping, options box, project X axis, project. Alright, looks like it got everything. The only place I want to see this orange line is on the outside of my selections. Alright, so everything worked out good there. Let's go ahead and do the top. So F11 to go to face select mode, use my paint select tool. Just start painting. Once you get everything selected, now we can do the bottom as well. Let's go ahead and do the bottom. Since they're both facing the same direction. Now I'll probably just keep on doing this till we get done, and then I'll just separate the video out into two parts, because it's probably going to be longer than 15 minutes. Actually, it may end up being 3 parts. Okay, we got the top and bottom selected. Create UVs, planar mapping, options box. Let's go to the Y axis since they're facing the Y direction, and project. Let's make sure our orange bold line is only on the outside of our selection. which it looks like it is, so that was good. Let's do the front and back now. F11, paintbrush tool. If only painting a house was this easy. To get a place you didn't mean to get paint, just press and hold down the control button to unpaint it. Alright, my brush side's a little too big, so I'm going to press hold down letter B for brush, and then middle mouse drag left and right to change it, the size. Alright, there we go. Create UVs, planar mapping. These are facing the Z direction, so project from Z axis. Alright, looks like everything worked out good there, and on the back. Alright, so we got all that done. The inside, I'm not going to worry about the inside, because the inside's really not going to be seen, and I don't want to make these tutorials any longer than what they need to. But if you want to, you can go in and you can map the inside of this the same way we just did the outside. Alright, let's go ahead and go in our UV texture editor and see what this looks like. So edit UVs, UV texture editor. Alright, it looks like a mess right now, but it's really not a mess, and here's why. Control right click to shell. Oops. First we need to right click and go to UV. Control right, select the point. Control right click to shell. Use the move tool, just move that out of the way. Select another point, control right click to shell. Let's move that out of the way. Control right click to shell. So all I'm doing is I'm just selecting a UV, and then I want to select everything that's connected to that UV. So I'm just going control right click to shell. Alright, let's move that out of the way. Control right click to shell. Control right click to shell. Alright. And I'm actually surprised about this because I'm not seeing the geometry for the inside. So let's select this in object mode and see what happens. Alright, I'm just curious here. I'm going to select a UV on the inside. So I'm just going to right click, select UV, and I'm going to click on a UV. Alright, so apparently all the UVs to everything in here are basically all lining on the stuff. So if I pull this off, you can see if I click on a, it's just all together. So if I click on this point here, it's in the same place. Alright, so that's okay. Makes it a little bit easier laying everything out. Here's what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and press number 6 in my view panel to look at these textures. We want these to all be square. Right now, if you look on the side, these are kind of stretched out. So I'm going to select all these, let's right click UV, select all these UVs on these sides, and I'm just going to scale that until our pattern is squarish. Alright, there we go. And the other side should be square too. Of course, if you look at the numbers and letters are backwards. Inside this UV texture editor, you can also tell if stuff is backwards by clicking this button up here. It toggles the shaded UV display. Anything that's red is backwards. Anything that's blue is not backwards. So we could select all these UVs down here on this piece, go up to polygons, flip, options box, edit, reset settings. You can flip them horizontally or vertically. So I'm going to flip this horizontally, apply and close, and now I just clicked anywhere in this space to deselect, and now these UVs are flipped around the right way. So if you look on our object up here on the left, our numbers and letters are, we can read them now. Okay, so those two sides are done. Everything looks pretty square, looks pretty good. Let's do the back, which is backwards, so let's flip those around. Polygons, flip. Okay, that wasn't the back. Here's the back over here. Polygons, flip. Alright, this is the back. If I move it, you can see it's the back. Alright, and the UVs look pretty square, so I'm going to leave that like it is. That means the front's probably fine like it is. Yep, that looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty square. Alright, the bottom. Let's adjust that. This right here is probably the bottom. Yep. Let's scale that until everything looks square. Alright, looks pretty good there. Close enough anyways. Just gonna move that out of the way. And this is probably the top. So let's scale that up. So pretty easy stuff, just doing some planar mapping and then just scaling stuff until it looks square like it's supposed to. That way we know we don't have any texture stretching on our object. Alright, that is done. And then this right here is everything else. It's just everything's on top of each other. So if you look in here in these sides, see how it's like all stretched? But again, this is all solid colors. We didn't even really have to do this in the first place, but it's going to make it easier to have one texture to have a different color on each part of our object here. Alright, now we need to organize all our UVs in such a way that it's going to make sense, and we'll do that next video. I'll go ahead and just stop it here, and the next video we'll just lay all these out. So let's go ahead and do a save. File, save scene as, and let's name this as DVD drawer _ 6. Close this out and resave it. Alright, I'll see you in the next part, and we'll go ahead and lay out our UVs.